Hello everyone and welcome to this video tutorial. So before you proceed, please do make sure you hit that like button and also smash that subscribe button so that YouTube can show this video to many people that are willing to learn Kotlin and React Native integrations. So what you're going to be doing in this video is to actually use Kotlin to trigger a notification alert for our applications using React Native. So if you see here, we are going to be using Kotlin and React Native notification, and when I click on this button here, you could see we have that notification triggered. So here we have the notification title as well as the notification body. So please don't forget again to hit that like button and also the subscribe button. So what we are going to be doing next is not really that much, because this is not just like an advanced tutorial. I got some requests to actually do this. So just come over to your Android app folder. Then over there, you could see the Gradle file over here. So this Gradle file, first of all, we're going to be adding a Kotlin version here. And I'm going to add 1.3.31. You can actually use any version you want, but sometimes most of these are not convenient with some dependencies or Java dependencies on your machine or on your application, I mean. So you have to be sometimes selecting a version till you find a compatible one. So I'm just going to put that down and save that and come down to dependency. And what I'm going to do here is to add a class path org.jetbrains.kotlin. Then I'm going to add another Kotlin there with Gradle. We have the plugin, and here we're going to select our Kotlin version. So I'm just going to close this left pane. So we have the JetBrains plugin, and we are going to be using the version that we put down over here. So you could see when I selected that, it got both highlighted. So we have to save that. And the next thing you can do is to come over to this app folder and click on Gradle. And at the top here, you could see under this apply plugin, you're just going to bring down apply plugin twice. So the first one here, we're going to apply the Kotlin Android. And for this one, we're going to apply the Kotlin Android extensions. And what I'm going to do next is to come over here and copy this, and then come down to dependencies under this Gradle file inside your app folder. So beneath this, you just have to paste that. And we're not going to be using compile. We just have to change this to implementation. So make sure you format everything. And also, it's not going to be a plugin. We're going to be using Kotlin standard library. So I'm just going to use a standard library of JDK7. Then it's going to be using the current version, the Kotlin version that we specified from our Android build Gradle file. So I'm going to save that. So if I try to run this application right now, so in my console, I'm going to run this application. So I forgot to tell you guys that I grabbed this file or this project from our GitHub repository. So if you notice here, from the last project, we have a starter template of beta application. So if you check here, I think inside this app.json, you could see we have the beta app. So if you check in that video, you could see the GitHub repository. I'm still going to provide that in the description of this particular video. So just go ahead and grab that and then do the steps that we've done. So we're going to give this some couple of minutes to finish installing, then we can continue. So right now that is done installing, and we can just run npm run android and hit enter. So right now we have the application started, and in case you kind of saw some error or something like an error on your console while running the application, just come over here and change this from T to S. So that was the only error I encountered. And right now we are done with that. So before we proceed, one more thing I forgot to tell you is that we are going to do this in two ways. We are going to add the toast notification, and then lastly we add the normal notification. So let's go ahead and work on the toast notification. And I'm going to come inside the source folder, main folder. I'm going to create a folder inside this Java.com folder. and I'm gonna call this folder Kotlin notifications. So inside here, we're gonna create 3 files. The first one is gonna be main.kt. Then the second one, the toast module.kt. And then the last one is also the notification module. So I just say notification pop. So whatever you want to name it, just go ahead and name it. You don't have a problem with that. I'm going to close every other file except for the 3 main files we are going to be working with. And inside here, I'm going to bring in my package. So let's just quickly bring the things needed down. So I'm just going to quickly do that, and then we can proceed. So these are the things that we brought down. We have the React package. Then we have the native module. The native module, with the help of that, we can access any method that we put down here or any function. Then the context the application is running with, and then we have the view manager. Maybe you want to use custom views. So these are just like dependencies or modules that helps you in some utils that you want to add to your applications. So the first thing I'm gonna do here now is to create the main, and we are gonna extend the React package. I'm going to close this. So inside here, we're gonna have the view manager. So we are not really focusing more on the view manager. I'm gonna put that down quickly. So like I said, if we have custom views, we can now pass it down, but we don't need that. And then we are gonna focus mainly on create native modules, which is gonna use the React context, and we're gonna extend give it a type of React application context, and it's going to return a list. So this is more like Solidity, a list of native module, and we can close that. And here we can just construct an array of native modules. So let's give this an array of native modules. We have the native module type, and here we can now return the modules. So we are going to be working with 2 modules. We have the toast module and also the notification pop module. So making sure that everything is done correctly. And here I'm going to use the modules.add. So we are going to first of all work on the toast modules, and then which is going to accept the React context. So without this React context, our application wouldn't run because we are not actually working with activity. So if we work with activity, we can actually use the context of that activity. But over here, you could notice that we're just using a single React application context, which makes it kind of tricky and also kind of complicated. But don't worry, we'll still see how these things are going to work. So let's first of all put this down, then we can go ahead and work on the notification module. So if you check here, you could see we have the toast widget, and then we have the native module, the context type from the React context. And here, one new thing we have here is the React context based Java module and also the React method. So these are just the utility dependencies or modules. So over here, we created a class, and then we grab the context that we are going to be passing from this place, the context coming from our application. So we are still going to show you where this context is coming from. And we're going to be returning a type of React context-based Java module. So blah, 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 a lot of things there. But actually, I've not taken my time to read more on these documentations. But for now, just know that they work perfectly. And without them working, of course, I wouldn't make the videos. So here we give this a duration of short or long, which is for the toast. And then over here we have the get name. So the get name is what we are going to be using whenever we want to use this on the React.js or the JavaScript part of this tutorial. So this is the name we are going to be using. Then here we have the constants. Like I said, I've not done a lot of research, but they work perfectly. But what I fully understand here is about the React method. So without this @React method, we will not be able to trigger this function using our React Native application or the JavaScript part of it. So that's why we have to use the React method. Whenever we want to pass a function over to the JavaScript part, we make sure at the top we add that React method. So here we use the toast and make the test, pass the context, the message, as well as the duration. And then the next thing we have to do now is to add this main file or the main package to the main application for application to be able to recognize that. So I'm going to terminate this application that is running, and I'm going to come here. You could see the way we can add a new package. That is why it's good to group it together. Then we can now bring it over to this place. Then we have the packages dot add new main. So that solves it. If we are using something like IntelliJ IDEA or Android Studio, we should actually get some recommendation, but nevertheless, this is also working perfectly. So right here, you can see we've added everything that we want from our main file over here. We added the module that we actually created, or we want to bridge together with our React Native application. Then we now brought it over to this main package or main application. So that's it for the Toast module. So the next one, the focus of our tutorial, which is the notification pop. So before we proceed to work on it, what I have to do first is to come over here and add the notification pop here. So I decided to add that first because of this context. Then we pass that context, and I'm going to import everything that we need at the top. So you could see a lot of things that we need from Android in order to be able to use the Android notification. And this is also the same thing that you use even whether you're working directly with Java or Kotlin. So these are the necessary things to import. So we have them imported, and right now let's go ahead and create our class called notification pop. And then it's gonna extend the context. I think context-based Java module. So right here, it actually should be necessary if we can actually use the super blah 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 to grab the context, but if we do it that way, it's not going to work out. So we're gonna do it in another way. But first, let's just bring down every other things that we need. So I'm just going to bring down a variable called loading, which is a type of boolean, and by default, let's give it a false value. Let's just give this a comment at the top here. So I think I'm kind of making some mistakes. So the next one is called the late integer. So with the help of late integer, we actually wait in order for us to use that variable until a value is assigned to this particular variable. So I'm just gonna give this a notification manager, which is a type of notification manager. So let me just use that auto suggest. And also we have a late integer or variable notification channel, which is also a notification channel. Then we have the late integer or variable builder, which is also a notification builder. And then we're gonna have a value of the channel ID. So channel IDs are actually very nice to use because they kind of group your notifications very differently. So I'm just going to give this a both queues ID. So anything you want to call it, you can call it. And then we have a late integer again, or variable my context. So this is where we're going to be grabbing that context that we passed down. So we're going to be using React application context. So these are everything that we need that we actually brought down, and the next thing now is to be able to assign the context that we actually passed from this main package over here, and we have to assign that to this my context in order to be able to use that. So quickly, I can just bring down the constructor. So we have the React application context. So here we can use the super, and then here I can now say these dots loading is equals to true, and then these dots my context is equal to context. So this is one of the best way to do it, because if right now I can't actually figure it out the way it should be done normally, but if you do it this way, it should perfectly work, because I gave this a lot of try for me to actually come to this conclusion. And with the help of this, you can actually go ahead and build your own modules or packages and upload it to npm, where people can actually grab it and use it anytime. So let me kind of correct this, and we are done with that. And after the constructor, we can use the override function of getName. Like I say, this is the name that we're going to be using from the React or the JavaScript part of this, which is going to return a pop. Then lastly, we're going to create a function called trigger. So I'm just going to quickly use the React method, and we are going to call a function called trigger, which is going to trigger our notification. But for now, let's just go ahead and save this and run this application to actually see what we've done so far. So everything is working perfectly and everything is working nice. And I think I didn't spell this correctly, because this is toast module, and here we have the toast module. So this is actually toast module. So make sure everything is typed correctly, and let's go ahead and run the application before we can be able to proceed. So if you followed everything the way we did it, you shouldn't get a single error. And right now everything is working perfectly, and let's go ahead and test run the toast. I'm going to quickly come over to the source folder and go over to components and click on notifications. So the first thing first is to import from React Native, and I'm going to import the native modules, and here I'm going to import the native modules. Let's say grab. So we have the cons from our native modules. So the first one we have here is the toast example. So this more like the simpler one you will find mostly online whenever you are searching for something like that. And I'm going to kind of let me kind of push this by the left, and let's do it this way. Let's just increase it a little bit, or this way, which is better. And let me just go ahead and save that, and I'm gonna create a function. So this one is called show toast. So let me just use camel case, and here we have the toast example.show. Let's say give it a private message. This is a toast message. Then we can still use that toast example.short. So all these things are actually coming from our toast module. So if you check here, you can see we have the get name, and also we have the duration of short and long. So you could see we have the message and also the duration. So normally, whenever you're using an Android toast, you must pass the context. So let's just go ahead and save that, and let's look for a way to trigger that. So triggering that is a very simple thing we have to do, but first there are some things we can bring up quickly. So I'm just going to import from native base, and I'm also going to import from constants. Also, I'm going to import from theme. So for this one, we just need a theme. Then for this one, we need the width. And for this one, we need the button. So I'm going to clear everything inside here. So this is just a simple design we are going to be working on. We have a flex of 1. So guys, I know that this is kind of taking time. So let me just go ahead and put them down. So we are done with that. And I'm going to come here. I'm just going to change this button to, the unpressed button to show toast. So let's save that and refresh our application. So I kind of restarted my application because it was not responding properly. And right now, let's go ahead and click on trigger. And here you could see the custom toast message that we passed down from this toast example show. So wherever we pass down here, let's say this is a toast, and save that and run it. After refreshing the application, you should actually see this is a toast. So okay, you could see this is a toast showing down here. So right now we are done with the toast example, and let's go back to notification pop and go ahead and finish that. So coming back into our trigger function, the first thing we have to do is to define a value called, this is supposed to be at the top, not just like that. We have the notification channel, which is going to be a notification channel which is going to accept the channel ID, and we can just give this a string of my notifications, and then here we can give it a notification manager dot important, let's use important high, which will kind of trigger both the sound and also a vibration if we allow that. Then we have configure the notification channel. So we have the notification channel dots. So the first one is to set the description, which is the channel description. Then we have the notification channel dot enable lights. So enable light, like you want the lights to turn on the light of the phone. Then we also have set light color. So here we have the color dot red, and I think I've not brought in color yet, but we're gonna bring that in. And then we have the notification channel dot set or enable. Let's use vibration, which is going to set that true. So let's save that. Then we have to register this channel with the system or the mobile phone. So we have to do that with the notification manager, which is gonna use the current context from the system or from the system service, and it's gonna accept the notification manager class. So let's make sure that things are typed correctly. And lastly, we have to now create that notification channel using the notification manager. So we have create notification channel, and here we can now pass the notification manager. So that's it. Not the notification manager, the channel that we created at the top, or the channel that we did set up here using the notification manager. So the color here still not showing, and I think we have to import that from the Android graphics. So com.android.graphics, I think .color. I think that should be it. Yeah. So that's it. Okay, everything got rearranged properly. So hopefully when we run our application, it should grab that and put it in our application so that we don't see any error. So we have color here, and here we do have a color. So the main reason why we did this way is for us to be able to use this my context. So if you notice here, it's kind of showing us that the late integer is not actually necessary because the my context was used in the constructor, but I tried as much as possible to use the super directly on this function or on this class over here. It didn't work until I did it this way. So just ignore the error and go ahead. But we are still not going to be able to access the context from the late integer. So what we want to do is to make sure that this loading is true. Then we can now use this context to actually do whatever we want to do whenever we press on trigger. So I can say if this.loading, whenever it's true, we can now build a notification using the notification builder. So my builder is going to accept the context and also the channel ID. So you could see everything is working perfectly, and we are now going to use the notification builder .set auto cancel. So when we set auto cancel, whenever the notification appears, maybe after some milliseconds, it goes away. So we have to set when. We just want the system to be able to decide on its own and not us. So we can use system.current set milliseconds. Then we can set a small icon. So right now I don't have any icon I brought in, but I'm going to bring a simple icon from r.drawable. I think I have to just quickly create a folder inside the res folder. So here, let's go ahead and create a drawable folder. And inside here, you could use the drawable dot. Let's just give the image a name. We're gonna bring that in. Then for the set ticker, so we can just give it a hearty sign, 365. Then we have to set a content title. And also set the content text or the description. So make sure all these are camel cased. Lastly, we have to set the content info. So content info, you can actually use it maybe whenever someone clicks on that, but we are not actually working on it. But all these things are very necessary for you to be able to build your own custom notification on React Native. Then lastly, we can now use the notification manager and notify the user. So here we are gonna notify the user 1234, and we can use the notification builder.build. So that should solve it. And let's go ahead and run the application again. So npm run Android. So right now everything has started, and one more thing I forgot to tell you was that this com was not supposed to be in front of these graphics. So you can just go ahead and get rid of it and restart the application. So for some reason it crashed, and that's because I needed to restart it again. So we started the application and everything is working fine. And right now, let's go ahead and give that a try. I'm going to come over to the notification file again. And for this one, I'm going to call it show notification. And here, we're going to bring in the pop from the notable module, because if you check from our notification pop, you could see we have the pop over there. And we can now say pop dot trigger. So I think that should be it. And over here, we can now replace this on show notification. So it's actually the first time, but hopefully everything should work. And the toast is showing. So let's give that a try again. So guys, I had to restart the emulator because when I ran the application and installed it, it wasn't running perfectly. So I had to reclose the emulator and reopen that, and everything is working perfectly. So the only new thing I added here was to add the version codes. So with the version over here, the SDK integer you can see here is actually the current version of our current SDK that our application is actually making use of, and we want to actually check whether it's greater than version codes already existing. So maybe you want to target some certain API SDKs, you can actually do that specification here. Or if you want to make it possible that every SDK can be able to run with that notification system, you can then get rid of this one. But it's more safer to actually use a more nearer or a more future version code than using older version codes, which can result in a clash sometimes. So that's why it's good to actually wrap it in something like this, and the application can be safe on any device. Then any device that is not going to work, it just has to notify the user that the user has to maybe change the mobile device or upgrade the operating system or the OS. So right now, let's go ahead and click on that trigger. And right now I clicked on that trigger. You could see we have the notification title as well as the notification body. And if we are to connect this to a sound, we should definitely hear the sound of this Android emulator from our speaker. But in this case, we don't have it connected. So everything still works perfectly. So on your side, you should definitely hear a sound if your system is connected to your speaker. So that's it for this tutorial. We're actually done with every other thing that we wanted to do, and we've come to the end of this tutorial. So guys, please, before you leave, do not forget to hit that like button and also smash that subscribe button so that YouTube can show these videos to many people that are willing to learn more about React Native. And see you on our next video. So thank you and bye-bye.